we better do this.
Yeah, of course you ruined the intro. Of course,
That's what I'm here for. I'm here to be third wheel, literally. Like if you look at the screen, I am the little first wheel of this thing at the bottom here.
Right? You don't matter. You just get worn out. You get worn down, and you fuck everything up.
I mean, to be fair though, we now know about those problems and can sort them out in the future.
Sure. So Devin, you pooped today?
Yes.
Nice.
Excellent. Mike,
right after coffee at 4:30 in the morning.
Twice.
Yeah.
Twice.
You're regular.
That's overachiever, yeah.
Once in the morning, and once right after lunch. So it was.
Damn.
Is that scheduled? Do you have are you like me? Do you have a 15-minute window every day where you're like, this is the time I go to the bathroom?
No, I've noticed I shit mostly right in the morning, but for some reason today it was like turbo turds. I just had to get them out.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I don't know what it was, but yeah, whatever I ate last night was it snaked its way through, so it was good.
Well, Taco Bell will do that to you.
What about you, Mike? How many times you fucking shit today?
Well, more than usual. Because I had something yesterday that I don't know what it was, but I woke up with kind of the uncomfortable feeling, and it's okay. So I took my morning glory. It's I'm like you guys, where it's in the morning it happens.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden I'm like, well, I still have some cramps. Not bad cramps, but just kind of uncomfortable.
So sour tummy feeling?
Yeah, and I'm I got bubble gut, a little bit of bubble gut.
Yeah.
And I'm well, I'll go sit down. I'll play my little game on my phone. And I just kind of relaxed and just and it was out, it was fucking out.
The lower intestine was working.
Right, and I'm holy fuck, where did that come from? And it was...
Did your pants fit better when you stood up or something?
No, they don't. Dude, since the surgery, my pants have not fit good at all, because my lower gut used to be pretty symmetrical with my upper gut, the flabalanche. And now it's there's so much scar tissue there it's getting better, but
yeah,
it's there's so much scar tissue there, when I wear pants up high, it's uncomfortable, and I'm well, that's 2 inches more than I used to wear. But I guess it's getting better.
Fair.
So it's weird. It's God, I feel fat, but I'm not any more fat than I was before the surgery. So
fair.
It's just weird. I gained 2 inches of scar tissue.
That's a lot. That's a lot of scar tissue. Holy shit!
It's a lot of just me being fat and not eating right.
I've had 3 operations in the groinal area, and
hernias.
Yes. So I got scar tissue all over the place, right in the kind of in the area right before the pubic region. It's actually their nerves are all messed up, so I can't feel part of my skin right there.
Yeah, that was weird. It's we were talking before we started talking. I could not feel for about a month and a half after the surgery. I could not feel my belly button at all.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying that. Yeah, I was talking about that. Yeah.
And now I can. It's it's back, and because I poked it one day, and I'm God, David, this redneck that thinks he knows me, David Wagner Woodworks, this redneck piece of shit, always comes on my stream, and he's "Oh, I'm gonna go out and shoot guns," and I'm I don't give a fuck. I don't know you. It doesn't matter,
dude. But some of those bandy shells you got.
I appreciate people who enjoy one's content, but I get that all the time too from children say, "Hey, Mike, I just bought some plastic army men," or something like that. And
well, to kind of kill the joke here, David's my neighbor.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's I just want to shit on him, because now we can do this in the future. That's fine, but yeah, he comes on here and he'll just be because he knows I do this on Friday night, because obviously we shoot a lot, and every Friday I'm no, I gotta do the stream, this and that, and then he's like, well, okay, and he just comes on here and trolls nonstop. Because I mean, he is a gay little
when he
troll.
blows that armor stand up.
Yeah, well, yeah, well, I'll explain that to him why we didn't do that. But I always call him, like, when I see him mowing his lawn or out in his garden, I'm like, I just see a gay little troll over there. What's going on? Are you okay, bud? Like, what's going on? There's a gay little troll that I'm seeing, and oh shit, it's you.
Oh, sorry about that.
That makes things worse.
Thought somebody was robbing your house. I thought a bunch of gypsies moved in.
Right, but it's just Dave. It's he thinks he could troll a mean game, but like he's an older guy. He's not a boomer, but he's not good. Like it's just not good. His situation is just.
By the way, you went on a boomer tirade today on the War Movies Facebook.
Well, it's not a tirade. It's just pointing out facts. If you call it a tirade, I guess.
Know, but it all kind of happened at once. So I was like, oh, he's going at it.
Well, here's the thing: is like I had to be in the right mindset to like get on there and actually. I literally sat there and I was like, God damn, this is fucking insane. Yeah. And so I started just typing and. I bet you I'm banned within the next 2 weeks. That's being very, very, very liberal with the amount of time, but like, I'll bet you I'm banned from that group within 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow. To be fair, though, I'm surprised you're not banned from more of the groups I see you interacting.
Well, I got banned from the World War II colorized Twitter.
I know that. Yeah, I did hear about that. So
yeah. Well, For those wondering, I invited Mike to this Facebook group about war movies called War Movie Zone on Facebook, and I'm a part of it. I've been banned 3 times. I've been able to come back on. So it's pretty sure that we're all going to get. Oh, and Alex just joined, so he's on there now too.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. But here's the thing: is like so far what I posted. And I actually saw David, not even close to a boomer. You're kind of a boomer. Like let's just not fuck around, beat around the bush. Like, come on, troll, yes, but you're kind of a boomer, Dave.
I mean, remember, boomer is like a mindset. It's not like an age group.
It's a state of being. It's a state of being. And Dave is. He's got his property. He mows his lawn religiously all the time. It's perfect. Like he spends more time mowing his lawn than I would. But hey, I mean, I'm gonna have fucking rounds come through my house here soon, so I better stop. But like,
fair.
Yeah, I don't want to have. He's gonna like my window's gonna crack, and there's gonna be a round that hits the wall, and I'm gonna have to repair that. I'm gonna have to mud it and then fucking paint over it. It's like, well, what are you doing, Dave?
Oh boy.
I mean, to be fair, Mike, have you cut your grass yet?
Yeah, I did. I cut the front lawn, and then the back lawn is not cut because, well, I cut the lawn for ticks, but I don't know. I kind of like having a prairie right outside my window.
So F it, yeah.
Yeah. It also doesn't grow as fast, but yeah, I should actually get out there and mow that just to be consistent. But yeah, it's but yeah, on this Facebook group, it's and there was a guy that I actually knew, like I know in person on there, and and he's a good guy. Like obviously, you can see from his comments, he's like, well, he's kind of half trolling too. He's but he's way more professional because he actually deals with military history all day, every day.
Yeah, I had a good interaction with that guy.
Yeah, he's I've seen him multiple times in real life, and we talk a lot, and or not anymore, but like we did because he just decided to ghost me like the fucking boomer that he is. He's actually not a boomer. But,
we won't name names.
But yeah, he's not going to be watching this. You see, the last time I saw him, like in person, man, I had like 15,000 subs, on my
geez,
channel.
that's a long ass time ago.
Yeah, it's 20. Well, Dakota was with me at the military show at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds, and this was like several years ago. And there's a guy that he keeps changing his fucking YouTube name, but I met him, at a gun show up north, and then down here. So I met him a couple times, and he's like, "Hey, we met," and I'm like, "Who the fuck are you?" "Oh, I'm this guy. We did this." I'm like, "Okay, I remember you now, but you keep changing your fucking name." But so the other guy we're talking about is we'll just call him Doug. We'll just call him Doug for this conversation,
Doug.
right?
Okay.
And
do I know Doug?
No, you don't.
Okay.
He works at a military history museum locally, and we went up there. The first time we went up there is he cleared us to bring weapons onto a military base where he works at the museum. We went up there and we ran our World War I stuff. It was because they're opening a big World War I exhibit, and they wanted people there that were reenactors and shit. And I'm like, cool, yeah, fuck yeah, I'll just go up there and
that sounds awesome. Yeah,
talk to people. And it was a great day. Like there were so many people that were there that were like, oh wow, I've never seen this in real life. And it's like that's the reaction you want to get, Like for World War II, it's like, well, yeah, you've seen that, but like World War I, they're like, that's what the uniforms look like, and I'm like, yep, it's the gear, and like obviously I'm a little bit fatter than most of them would have been, but at that point I actually wasn't. I was doing good. I was doing keto, well, low carb at that point before keto became a thing, and I lost a bunch of weight and everything, and it was good.
And Americans in World War I were like really big and stocky compared to everyone else.
Yes, a lot of them. So that's a different conversation we can get into, but like, yeah. So no, we went up there and I met him in person, and it's like he's a reenactor himself. He does British World War II. That's his specialty or his speciality.
Speciality.
Yeah, if you want to talk to Ewan McGregor in Star Wars, but hey,
I got that reference.
Yeah, thank you. That's cool. But yeah, he's a really good guy. He was so into it. Like we actually showed up and he was like, holy shit, you guys' stuff is like good. Like it's fantastic. And then yeah, the public was there. There's a lot of people there it was a hot day and everything. And we're in the museum. And at one point we were sitting there in the exhibit and just kind of standing still. And all of a sudden we like moved. And people were like, oh my God, I thought you were part of, I thought you were like a statue or like a mannequin that was dressed. And I'm like, no, hey, got any questions? Let us know. And they were,
yeah, where's the bathroom? I just shit myself.
Well, I would have been like, well, it's already done, so why the fuck are you asking for a bathroom? Like, go outside and sun it out. Like, not a big deal. But like, no, it was cool because they're nervous to ask you questions, right? But once they start and you explain it to them in a certain way, they're like, well, okay, then why was this way? Oh, because of this, and this, and this. Oh, well, so okay, yeah, and then they get into it, and that's like that's why I loved Living History, is because it's like you get somebody that doesn't know anything about history really, or not much. They're afraid to ask a question. You interact with them and everything, and make them feel comfortable. And all of a sudden, they ask a question, and then you explain it to them. And they're like, "Really? Yeah." And then it's like, well, then why was it? They get into it.
Right.
They get really into it, and like. You go, oh yeah, because you're gonna go home tonight. You're gonna maybe this might be the last night you do it, but you're gonna still do it. You're gonna go into a rabbit hole on the internet and be like, oh, okay, so this, and this. Oh shit, that existed. And a lot of people in the U.S. specifically can relate to having veterans in their family that they either knew or they didn't know, and they're like, well, my great grandfather was in the First World War. I just didn't know what he did, and it's like, well, there's a multitude of jobs. Like we're portraying infantry, but like. You've got support. You've got pigeon, the people that were trained on carrier pigeons.
Yep.
And that was a very important job. And it's like going there, and then like there was guys that were medics, stretcher bearers, supply, artillery, all this shit. Like you can just go through it, and they're like, oh, really? Because I always saw in the trenches, and I'm like, well, yeah, that was one part of it.
Yeah, but there's a whole other part though. There's thousands of other. Facets and such.
The
Right,
people don't
and
live in the trenches without all the shit behind them, bringing them stuff.
exactly. And the one I've had some really good questions. I have to think of them really quick, but like I've had some really good like questions that people just normally wouldn't ask. Like well, yeah, a lot of people would ask about, well, how did they get food in World War One? Did they eat rations? And I'm like, the Americans, unless they were in a spot where they didn't have, their direct support behind them, they ate rations then, but there weren't any rations. There was the emergency ration.
Yeah, you'd have like a tin of like
Hardtack,
canned meat,
coffee.
like corned beef. Yeah.
No. It wasn't even corned beef. No, it was literally the American emergency ration was a tin that had hardtack mostly, coffee and sugar and I can't remember what else. Steve MRE 1989 MRE did video on this. He opened one up.
Okay.
But that was the only ration the Americans had in the First World War. The rest of it was, oh shit. We're gonna have a field kitchen set up, which they did. And my buddy Ray, which is my mentor, getting into the hobby, and he was also in the 32nd Division. He was, National Guard for a while, and he's got this vast amount of knowledge, and he's just such a good guy. He's like, "Yep, here's how it was. Yep, here's pictures, original pictures." And then when we would show up to events, he actually had a field kitchen set up, and he would cook period correct meals from the 3 or 4 manuals that they would have. Like basically it's a manual of like, if you're in the field and you have these ingredients, this is what you can
Here's
make.
what you make. Yeah.
And they obviously the mess sergeants would get creative with that shit. Then you'd have 2 or 3 mess kind of privates or whatever. They would help you with that. They'd help you set up everything and then cook and serve it and everything. But the mess sergeant was tasked with sourcing food, fresh food as much as possible. And rations weren't a thing. But here's the thing is, they realized, we need canned, like preserved rations for when we can't get a field kitchen up to there, like when we're advancing and whatnot. And the field kitchen it's not safe.
Yeah, when supply hasn't caught up to how far the infantry has moved. Yeah.
Exactly. And so what happened was a bunch of so that was the first time that I can think of in modern history that like the military started contracting with private companies
to make
giving them contract. Like, okay, you are a company from, and I have the original labels that Ray also gave me around cans. Like some are from Green Bay, Wisconsin, some are from Iowa, everywhere where they're civilian companies that are canning these goods, and the government would buy a shitload of these and say, hey, we need more. We need this many by this date, and we'll pay you this much. Okay, cool. And they would ship them over there. And yeah, corned beef was a big thing.
Yep.
And
dancing calories, small can, stacks well. Yeah.
Exactly. And another thing too that people might not think of, and I mentioned in the video I made about World War I rations in my World War I series, is that Alaska, although not a state yet, had a lot of Americans up there, right? And they were fishing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. And so they caught a lot of salmon, and they were selling canned salmon to the US. And so Alaska, when the First World War, when they were like, yeah, we need rations, Alaska was like, well, we want to be part of the war effort to prove that we're like worthy of, being considered by the US. And like they sent so many metric tons of canned salmon to the Western Front, to the Americans. And so much so that a lot of the Americans in their actual memoirs or just interviews were like, we liked it at first because it was new and it was something different, but
yeah, we've never had it before. But after
a while, it's like,
yeah,
a lot of them were like, we can't eat canned salmon ever again. So it's shit like that. That's like, and then they make cream peas in salmon because they take the milk that they get, the condensed milk, and they mix it with the peas they got in the can.
Yep.
And they'd be like, all right, we'll have a squad meal. We'll cook this way. And, we're up here like, okay, there you go. Cream peas and salmon. And that was a dish beforehand, but they kind of improvised.
Yeah.
And for some reason, they became very popular after the First World War. You know, because it's like it's cheap.
Yep.
It's good.
It's super shelf stable. It's got lots of calories
Right.
in it. Yeah.
And so that's the cool thing about World War One, like from the U.S. standpoint. I'm not even going to begin to delve into everything else, but like from the small role that the U.S. played, there's so much history just in that alone. Where it's like you wouldn't think about that, like salmon, you know, canned salmon, but it's protein. It's straight up protein and fucking vitamins and minerals in a can, which is good. But like the guys got sick of it. They got just like the British got sick of bully beef and then corned beef. You know, same thing.
Fair. And also all the fucking fresh vegetables they were giving. You know how many guys talk about how like, oh yeah, I got a tin of corned beef. I got one big ass fucking carrot, a potato, and a raw onion just to stuff in your bag. And they're like, figure it out.
Yep, figure it out. Get creative with it.
Yeah, so like that was like your food for like 3 days. But you know what happens after an onion sits waterlogged in a bread bag in the summer? You know,
it's not good.
It starts to grow and like sprout roots, and it doesn't taste good anymore.
It's bitter.
Like the food was like rotting in their bag. So,
but yeah, it's insane. Like just so, but those are questions that I was asked at events where I was like, okay, this is cool because you're asking something that's not like, what kind of gun is that?
Right.
Okay, well, you know. Yeah, it's a 1903, and we were issued these because of this and that. They don't give a fuck about that. But they're like,
no, I'm sorry. I was just like, some people I know with World War One, they're like, some people think that like they had the Thompson during World War One or something.
No,
yep.
They barely had the BAR during World War One.
Right. No, I've heard that a couple times.
The Thompson was a concept,
right,
that was being talked about and thought about, and like, well, how do we do this? You know, because they had the 1919 offensive that never happened, and so much effort was put into like engineering different kinds of arms for that offensive, because they thought that the war was going to go on forever. Because
into like 1920, 1921. Yeah.
Yep. But it didn't. But like, that's where all that, like the Thompson was a concept at that point, because the Germans had the MP-18.
Yep.
Which was interesting.
Yep.
To say the least. But
right. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you didn't interrupt at all. Like
now, I have a question for you, Mike, about how like when you're reenacting, did you ever have somebody that because I had one of these, where somebody comes up to you and they give you a super complicated question, you know, and the answer is, I don't know, the government just decided it had to be like this because the government. For like something that's really stupid, like the Canadian 1899 Oliver equipment.
Yeah.
You could hang yourself with that web gear. It's so complicated on accident. They just decided it had to be like that. It wasn't the best option by any means.
So yeah, I did actually answer that about the 1910 pack.
Yeah.
Okay. And
why does that's not even a pack. It's a flap. It's a series
diaper.
Of fucking flaps and straps.
Yeah,
it doesn't hold fuck all.
It's a diaper, and then they added one strap and made it in 1928, which went through the Second World War.
Yeah, it's dumb as shit. That's literally the biggest piece of like U.S. field gear. I was like, who in their right fucking mind decided that this was a smart idea? Well, I hope they hung him and pissed on his grave.
What it was is like they go, well, we have more equipment now, so we got to have a pack, right?
Yeah.
But
that's not like a pack.
No, but here's how it came to be, the very, very macro level. Like this isn't, names and everything, details. So they were studying a bunch of different kinds of pack styles, like a rucksack, musette bag, things like that. Like at that point, like the early 1900s, the 19-teens, and they were studying the Native American papoose, like how they carry their children, right?
Oh, so we're going to be carrying children now because we're the army?
No, but like children are heavy with all the food and everything, all the gear attached to it, right?
Yeah.
But it was centered along the spine, which is a good concept. Yes.
It is a very good concept, yeah.
Okay. So they said, well, let's make a pack that's thin and sits in the center of the spine. We'll go down to your ass, basically, but it's balanced. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's kind of like the Bradley video that you guys saw. It's like, okay, well, we need to have an entrenching tool on it because we now have these shovels that everybody's got now. to dig positions because, you know, whatever. How do we do that? Well, we also have to have another pouch for the mess kit because we don't have a pouch on their belt and all the equipment for a mess kit. Oh, well, let's put the pouch for, you know, long story short, they designed this, it went out on the back, but it was still kind of, it's thin. It's a really thin.
It's very narrow and centered. It's not like a lot of the modern rucksacks where they're very short and fat and wide and they get in the way.
Right.
You know?
So I'll admit, like I have mine. I have an original one that I've packed, you know, like they would have then.
Yeah.
It's very
They
balanced.
also didn't have as much shit, but I mean, it's such
Oh,
a
no, they had a lot of shit.
trouble.
They had a lot of shit.
Yeah, but like not as much as like you're expected to carry nowadays.
No, but like they had a stupid amount of shit. The problem is when they designed that, they designed it with the actual regulation combat load in mind. Here's how you pack it exactly. You got to pack it this
all
way.
Interconnected, and if you need one part, you have to take it all apart. And
right, and it's like, well, you have this confined amount of space, and if everything's not packed in there perfect, it's not going to work.
Yeah, that's dumb, and it's also not a bag.
Right, it's a pack. and so, you know, they had the tail on there, which is your blanket, roll up with your shelter half, and then stuffed up kind of hat or a quarter way.
To keep it sorta on paper waterproof.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a good concept, but again, good concepts aren't always good. And they carry this over to the 1928 pack.
Yeah, they used this for so fucking long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to deal with that. That literally is one piece it's been an absolute nightmare to like think about. I've seen people like pack them and like watch videos of it and like how that whole US system like goes together, you know, that early like World War I system and shit they have and how complicated it is and crap.
Yeah. The Germans were worse.
Fair. And the French were even worse, but at least the French was simple.
It's literally designed with no extra space in it from what you're actually issued, and you have to pack it in a certain way. So it's pretty typical at the time, but the U.S., at least they made it a bit more balanced.
Fair. I'll give them that. The weight is distributed very well on U.S. stuff, and it's very ergonomic.
Mike, you ever carried you ever carried a 1910 or a 28 pack?
No, I haven't. I have the one right here, but I've never like loaded it with anything.
Oh, yeah, I want to watch a video of Mike trying to do this blind, just trying to figure out how this thing is supposed to go together and be packed. I want to watch like a 2-hour stream of Mike trying to put this fucking thing together like a diabolical Rubik's Cube from hell.
Oh my God. So, I'm talking. I think I might have showed it to you, Mike. It's the M1928 haversack. I think if that's what I'm. Is that what?
Yeah, it's called a haversack. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, there. Let me get it. I didn't do when I first got it. It was all kind of like in pieces, but I mean, not too bad. You know.
Yeah, you ever taken it apart and like tried to fit shit in there?
No, when I got it, when I first got it, what I did was to fill it up. I put like it came in a bag that had paper and shit inside, so I just put that inside of it. But so I think it was this was out. I kind of just looked at it and just saw if I could like fold it together. Let me undo all this crap.
Well, he's already saying crap and everything, like I'm sure all the Americans were when they got this and they were told to figure it out.
Yeah, so I'll take that out.
How many straps does it have? Can you count off how many straps you have to undo?
Well, for just that one, it was 3, but it came like that, like
the diaper. Yep,
the diaper.
So I just kind of looked at it and I was like, because I've looked at photos of it a bunch of times when I've had to draw it in my artwork. So, and I just thought, okay, well then I guess this goes over and those 3 things clipped and then this part came down. Wasn't too difficult, but it is kind of a weird thing.
But hey, try to pack like 5 days worth of gear or more
Yeah.
in that thing.
Your blanket, your shelter half, your
Yeah.
cold weather stuff, your extra socks, your shaving kit, your soap,
Yeah,
toiletries.
I didn't pack it with anything.
It's not good. Like you get there and you're like, oh, I've got all this shit. Yeah, it'll fit in here. And then you get like 3 things in there and you're like, it's full.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, you get a shaving kit and a bar of soap, and you're like, well, that's capacity.
Yep. And it's just so. And here's the thing: is like in World War II, early on, they had the pack tails on those.
Yeah, well, they needed the extra space because they had more equipment. So.
And they realized, well, this is fucked.
Yep.
Like it's so. How do we adapt? And so you see a lot of these packs with their overcoat wrapped in their shelter half, wrapped over it without the pack tail on it.
With the accessory straps hooked to everything. So, and I mean, that infuriates me. And like, I have, the 1908 pack, which is what the Canadians and the British and everybody used from like World War I through basically the fucking 80s.
Yeah, because like, the P-58, which was the same fucking thing.
The same thing.
Yeah,
It was basically used through the 80s. And that pisses me off to try to pack. And that's an actual bag.
Yep.
So that's not even a bag. So
yeah, it's insane. And like,
what are these things for? Yeah. What are these things for? These D rings. What are these for?
It's to put your strap through when you all the D rings. Well, that's for your suspenders to come through and grab onto.
Yep.
Oh,
distribute the weight. It's all about weight distribution. You have a bunch of stuff that hooks together and around and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't tried to like wear it, so that part is kind of foreign.
It's comfortable. When you get it on, it's comfortable.
Yeah, if you get it all together and get it all on, it works incredibly well. It's very good at distributing the weight.
So. You just can't carry a goddamn thing. And that's what, like in World War I, you see, because the U.S. 1970 or service code at that point, whatever model it was, had 4 pockets, big pockets on them.
Right.
And you see guys, like if you look at original pictures, like while they're in combat or while they're in a combat zone, their pockets are stuffed full of shit.
Well, that was all like same thing with the Canadians and the British. You took your shaving kit and stuff out of especially after gas was the thing, because you shaved every fucking day. So you made sure you had easy access to that crap. And obviously your soap, which was also used to help defeat chemical agents that you got on your hands before you ate and shit.
Well, and also winter caps, wristlets, gloves, mittens,
Pocket watch, because
socks
watches weren't really a thing, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like it's insane. No, they wouldn't put food in their pockets because it's gonna be nasty, right?
Speak for yourself. The British definitely kept their assault potato in their pocket. I mean, you being a German with a potato, a rotten potato, you're gonna buy yourself a few seconds. So
well, then I get turned on and
I mean, they're probably like, "Oh, we haven't seen potatoes in forever," and they stop to eat this rotten pile.
Salad.
Yeah, that was a potato.
Get this here.
They're stabbing each other over this rotten potato.
A lot of times they would put like canned goods in their pockets for sure, but like anything fresh, no, because they knew like if I drop down in a
it's
puddle,
just gonna get wet and soggy.
No, it's gonna be shitty.
And they're usually not carrying, even though like throughout the whole war you see the British potatoes. Technically, you're supposed to have your pack on. They never fucking did though. So you wedged as much as you could in your pockets. And
that's the thing too, is like the Americans kind of in World War I, they adapted to the kind of British and French style of like, okay, when we go over, you don't want to wear your pack.
Yep.
One guy per squad wears a pack with supplies in case you break through and you need food and all this shit. But like most of the guys are not going to be wearing their packs.
Fair. You have your water, your ammunition, and
gas mask,
like your bread bag or like your valise or something with like
gas mask,
box and some food.
And that's it. And like with the Americans' case, like bandoliers. Same with the Brits. Like you have some bandoliers on for ammo.
Ammo's important. You need that.
Oh yeah, and and so with the Americans, it was like one guy per squad when they went over or attacked would have the haversack on, and then what would happen is when they would gain ground, well, the guys would bring all their equipment up to them and be like, well, here's your shit. Cool. Like, okay.
Did they have like any specific person or role that did have that? Because like the British and Canadians, it was like
it was random.
the Lewis gunner would get that because they would be behind anyways, providing support.
Sure,
It would
but
be
no,
they would get that because it would be, for one, they could keep tools in there for maintaining the gun, and then it would be safer, so they couldn't move as fast, obviously, with all this crap. So after they took a line, it made sense for them to bring all the shit.
right. And the Americans were just
anyway.
basically, the Americans were like, you
volunteer
whatever.
as tribute. Here's your shit.
Yeah, and so because they also understood, the Americans understood that like the Shosho gunners, they're gonna get hit first.
Yeah, they're important, and the Germans knew that. So
yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. And like, so they would be like a rifleman per squad, which was about at that point like 15, 16 guys. It was a big squad. They would say, you carry up all this extra shit in your pack.
That's that. In one of those things, that's not a lot of shit for fucking 16 guys.
Right, exactly. But like
that's next to nothing.
Right. They always counted on like, if we take this position, like our guys are gonna like catch up to us really quick. That was the assumption.
Yeah. Well, they assumed a lot of stuff in World War I that turned out to not be so good.
Yeah. Exactly.
We're gonna throw this wave. We're gonna throw an endless wave of people into their machine guns. And
that's the cool thing. And like, you know, in God, I forgot the exact battle it was, but like I was telling you this, and Mike, this is a fun story.
All right.
And then I'll pee, and we can talk about World War II if you want. But like, I'm gonna get you into World War One. I'm gonna get you into it.
World War One's so great.
But so anyway, there was a time where like, so it was this massive assault. It was in the Oin campaign, so it was like June to July of 1918, and the French in the 32nd Division were like working together, right? And it wasn't just the 32nd; it was a bunch of other AEF guys.
And for so, Mike, if he doesn't know where that is, that's kind of midway down the front on the Western Front. It's kind of
it's like midway. It's in Champagne, like almost in that region, and so they were like, okay, well, the Americans go, what's the objective? Well, these two towns. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's a good story. I've heard.
Yeah, the Americans were like, okay, that's the objective. All right. And so they got up and they went over with the waves. Like, it's very methodical. Like, we could talk about that some other time. Like, they would send the grenadiers up first, a rifle wave, and then directly after that, machine gunners, like Shosho gunners. And then they would set up rifle waves to, you know, supplement that. That was the French way of doing things. The grenadiers would get as close as they could, and they would chuck as many grenades.
Break up the hard points, the MG nests and stuff.
That first rifle wave would go up, supported by the machine guns, and it was like whatever. So they did this right in this battle. I got to remember the name. I just don't right now. They go up, and the Americans are doing well. The French are doing well. And all of a sudden, the French start getting their asses kicked, and the Americans start getting their asses kicked by machine gun fire. Interlocking fields, they opened up behind, you know, it's like, oh, shit. But the Americans kept going, and they're like, okay, all right, you know, wave, go, out. And about, you know, a quarter of the way through the battle, the French are like, we're at like 40% losses. Get the fuck back. They blew the whistles. They're like, get back. Everybody, we're done. We got to regroup and then, like, do this again.
Right.
And the Americans go, well, we're already this far. Like, let's just keep fucking going.
Yeah, well, the Americans made some pretty good ground in that fight, and the French met a little bit more resistance. Yeah, so they kind of bogged down.
But here's the thing: is like the Americans were still taking a lot of casualties.
Well, everyone was taking a horrendous amount of casualties.
The Americans just went, well, we're almost there. Like, we can actually do this. Like, let's just fucking go. Okay, and so they just kept going. They were taking heavy casualties. I think they got up to like 60% casualties. But they actually overran the German positions. They got into this village, and they took the village. The Germans ran because they're like, oh, shit, they're breaking through. Like, we're fucked. We got to regroup. And so the French are like, what? As this whole thing's going on, they're like, get back. What the? Listen to us. Like, you're going to, oh, my God, they're all going to get killed. And so the French came up when they took the village, and the battalion commander goes up to the American battalion commander, and he goes, what the hell are you thinking? What are you doing? We told you to get back. You've lost 60% of your men, and blah, blah, blah. And then the American just looks at him and goes,
look
where are we standing? Yeah, where are you standing right now? He goes, well, we're standing in, oh God, get these guys up here, like now.
Yeah.
And the French were very methodical because they're like, well, we've been doing this for 3.5 years. Like, we know what the shtick is, and we can't really afford to lose any more guys. We're running low.
Right.
And so that's why they would kind of be more methodical and pull back when they were taking too many casualties. The Americans at that point were fresh, and they're like, no.
We haven't done this before. Just give it everything we have.
And we're also here to like take care of business. Like, you
Fair.
guys, we got sent here. And again, I don't think the Americans won the war. I think they shortened it.
Right.
So, but like that was the thing with the Americans is they were just so, and the French commented on this all the time. They're like, oh, the Americans they're fucking reckless. Like, they don't know what the hell.
Arrogant, yeah.
They're so arrogant. They don't know what they're doing, but they're really effective.
And they're giants compared to everyone. They could just run faster and lift more.
Right.
Because they came from so rural that they had like better nourishment.
Yep.
Which is, I tell people all the time why universal healthcare is a thing in a lot of these countries, because they got to interact with soldiers from a bunch of different nations, and the Canadians and the Americans towered over all of the other people from, Britain and France and, the colonies and stuff, because they were so much better fed that they were allowed to be able to like grow to their extent. They weren't malnourished at any point in their life, so it didn't stunt their growth.
Exactly. And they did the disease was a lot less. And here's the thing is like, the first few American units that went there were rural people. They were active army. They were well fed, and they were just like built, and like it was not uncommon to see a guy my height, obviously I get it. Like, you don't need to comment on the fucking thing, but like, 6'3", a guy from the upper Midwest in Wisconsin or Michigan or Iowa or Illinois, you'd see guys that were my height.
Right.
In World War I as Americans on the line as infantrymen, and the Germans were like, Jesus Christ, these guys are big.
Yeah, well, most of the Europeans, the French, the Germans, and the British, the average height was like 5'6", 5'7".
Well, at the end, because they were getting these guys from the cities.
Yep.
Who had been blockaded for 3.5 years at that point. The French were like not doing well. And it's like, even the American guys from the cities were a lot smaller than the guys from the rural parts of the U.S.
Fair.
They were malnourished because they had been not through the Depression, but like they were just not. The early 1900s were not good for cities in the US.
True. Well, unless you were an officer, the British noticed that. So their officers obviously came from like the aristocracy, beginning of World War I. The average British officer was 4 inches taller than the enlisted men because they were well fed. Access to healthcare and food.
Yes. Exactly. And that's the thing is like, and another thing that the Germans bitched about, like post-war, when they were interviewing them, they were like,
"They're shotguns, Mike." I'm just saving you from somebody saying it,
Yeah, but no, another thing they bitched about was they got pissed off because they're like, with the Americans, we can literally not tell their officers from the enlisted men because they wear the same uniform. American officers, after they got like their officer uniform worn out after the first like month,
they were issued enlisted clothes.
And they were issued enlisted uniforms. And they also would carry themselves. They weren't like this in the German army, in the French army, in the British army, in the Belgian army, in the Italian army, European armies in general. You can tell an officer by the way they carry themselves, right?
Yeah, the British all had a sword. That was real easy to point out. That's very shiny.
Sure, but like the Americans, because they're like, well, we got to just how they're carrying themselves. They're going to be commanding guys. No, the officers in the U.S., which is a really distinct quality that still holds true today. You don't know, like the Americans know who the officers are, and that's all that matters.
Right.
And a lot of the officers would carry pistols, and they were like, okay, but is that an NCO or is that an officer? Like, we don't know. Like the Germans, they had a problem with that. Like they were
if like, only we had a machine gun. That's what the Germans said.
Probably.
Oh wait, we do. A lot of them. A shit ton of them.
Well, no, because like it's not they were like, this one German officer, I gotta find this site and I'll send it to both of you guys later, but like it's about like quotations about like Americans from French civilians to German officers, right? And the one German officer said something to the amount of, I fought the Russians, I fought the Romanians, I fought the Italians, and I fought the French, and I fought the Belgians and the British. And he says, Never before in my life have I seen such a mob calling themselves an army fighting. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's so unorganized, and it's basically like I'm paraphrasing this and like not getting it correctly, but like basically he says it's impossible to go against these guys in an organized manner.
Green moving across the horizon.
And they're not scared.
Like around obstacles. And,
right. When they start taking casualties, they don't go back. They just keep going. They get pissed off and they keep moving forward. And it's like, well, I mean, he didn't say that part, but like, the Americans are just very different. And that was the first time that it was proven that, okay, oh, well, these guys, they're not civilized, but my God, can they fight?
Yeah.
It's a very different style of warfare. And then in World War II, so this is relevant to Michael's film, is you get an underestimation again for a young guy, because like your Autor, the second in command of the Germans, has been on the Eastern Front fighting the Russians, the savages, he calls them.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it was brutal on the Eastern Front. Like everybody was a savage there, but like, yeah, it's, whatever. But like, it's, when he was in the Italian front, and like these new guys are like, well, we're facing the Americans. Well, don't fucking worry about it. Like these guys, they're not going to be that bad. Like it's not.
Yeah, that's his whole point in the movie.
And that was mixed emotions in World War I as well. Like some of the Germans were like, oh, we're fucked. Like we do not want to fight these guys at all. And then some of them were like, you really think these fucking green, guys from across the ocean are going to be able to do anything?
Hodunks farmers are going to come, get everybody.
Yeah.
Right. And they learned their lesson, and it was, again, I'm not like America, fuck yeah, the best. It's just a very different.
To be fair, it did create a wonderful legacy for America of interventionalism.
Well, the First World War?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we touch everyone else's business now. It's because of World War I.
Well, if you really want to get into it, Mike, do you know, why do you think? Let me take a piss first. But just think about this while I'm taking a piss. Why did the U.S. get involved in the First World War? Don't answer. Just think about this for a bit.
Okay.
Oh gosh, there's a bunch of right and wrong answers for this question, by the way. And the more and more you think about it, the more and more it's going to infuriate you.
I'm gonna sound incredibly unpatriotic, I guess, right now, because honestly, though, when I think of World War I usually never think of the Americans.
They were huge players. That's the thing. They've been there since day one, but they were just fucking arms dealers, basically, for like the first 4 years of the war. All they did was sell guns to whoever had money. Right, but no,
and they did that at the beginning of the Second World War too. But
that's right. Americans like that money. They're really good at liking that money.
Yeah, but no, it's just when I think of World War I usually think of Germans and French and British. I never think of Americans. If I do think about the Americans, I always think of them coming in at the very end. And again, I'm a novice when it comes to World War I history. So
it's a shithole. It's definitely that's the moment the modern era started.
Right. No, so, I completely get that, and I love that about. Well, no, I don't love it, but like in terms of like learning history, it's so fascinating because you see so much of classic warfare going on, but with all of this modern technology being churned out during it, and it's just like, like when you think of World War I, you just think of these, just zombie land like looking environments with these
like the moon. They describe it all the time. A bunch of guys describe it that it looks like the moon. Right?
Yeah, it looks like the moon, and it's like they're fighting wars the way they would fight them before, but with all this new technology that's creating this.
Mm-hmm. Well, in 1914, the first couple of battles fought between the French and the Germans were actually a lot like the Civil War. Officers in front holding their swords, marching in lines towards each other.
I heard I heard the story that this like with thing with the British that like there was a thing that some British officers would do that when they would charge, they would like dribble a football with their foot across the.
Yeah, that was a real thing because they thought it was like in the early days of the war because they thought it was a joke. Basically, they're like, the war's going to be over in like 2 weeks, so everyone was like having fun, and then next thing you know, like a 200 millimeter howitzer shell lands next to you and blows you into the fucking atmosphere.
Yeah.
Like literally. So the very first time humans put anything into not the most bottom layer of atmosphere was during World War I. The Germans made an artillery gun that fired at such a high arc, the shell went into the next layer of atmosphere. The very first time humans ever left like this plane
was then.
Yeah. So
that I mean, that goes in line with the technology at the time. I mean, that was when, you know, airplanes had first come around and stuff, and guns like that. So yeah, when you think about it beforehand, yeah, it's like no one was in the fucking sky before that.
Fair. They talked about how like needing to fire this gun with electricity because they couldn't have like a pole chain, and the Germans would put waxed cotton in their ears, and they would have to close their eyes and open their mouths.
Yep.
To shoot this gun, or it would like rupture diaphragms in their skull and in their body because of the shock wave of this gun going off.
Yeah. That kind of reminds me of stuff, but anyway, we're talking about World War I.
So why do you think the Americans got involved?
I think if I was gonna answer it just completely on the fly, it was because they were aiding a lot of their allies and they wanted them to be a part of it, basically. Like,
that's
you're gonna
pretty good.
You're gonna help us or not, basically.
Well, no. So it gets even deeper than that.
That's what I figured. Yeah,
they loan them tons of shit, and if your side loses, they can't pay back those fucking loans.
Seriously,
it's money, literally money. Yep. Americans do everything for money.
The Rothschilds, the DuPonts, you know, of the world at that point were
this
like, well,
they become what they become. So,
you know, we had government contracts unofficially to supply them with arms, and we're manufacturing arms and
fair. Like, there's gun companies that wouldn't exist today because Russian contracts were defaulted on. Like, Remington would have went under if the U.S. government didn't bail them out because a French contract went under and two Russian contracts went under for millions of rifles that they just couldn't pay for. But Remington had made all of these, you know, with the promise of being paid. So,
well, it's funny because the UK, like, they were, or Great Britain at that point, they were like, yeah, we'll take your P-14s, but they're not as good as the SMLE, so we'll give these to the Scottish units. Give them to the units we don't give a fuck about.
The rear lines, yeah.
But they were still like, but they were also issuing a lot of food and like cannons and shit, like big guns and ammunition for those big guns.
Yeah.
And the Lusitania, they're like, oh, it was a cruise ship. Well, all right, let's unpack that really quick. They discovered in the wreckage, which was always, you know, kind of pondered upon, and like people were like, well, they were carrying some pretty heavy shit.
Yeah, the Germans talked about it. The people that they found the guy that actually shot down the Lusitania and asked him why, and he said it was sitting way too low in the water.
Yep.
To be a just commercial ship.
And although it was a commercial ship first, but an arms transport second, and the Germans had very clearly made it abundantly clear to the Americans that, hey, if you are going to be transporting arms,
war material of
any kind,
we're
going to sink you.
We're going to sink it. And the Americans were like, yeah, okay, fine, whatever, we're not doing that. And so they were like, well, let's camouflage it on a cruise ship.
So we can keep making our fucking money.
Well, our debt. We're going to keep making our debt.
That's fair. I love
they weren't making money at that point.
To be honest,
I don't know this. The Russians couldn't, obviously, because there was no way to get payment to like America for like Mosins and stuff. Because a lot of Russian Mosins actually, well, American Mosins did make it to Russia, but it got so bad to the point where Britain paid for Russian Mosins to be sent to Russia just to keep Russia in the fight, and then defaulted on that contract too.
So all that shit kind of comes to fruition, and you're like, well,
Ain't that a bitch?
the Germans are onto us. Well, how do we end this so we can get paid?
Yeah.
And then that's why, like, the Treaty of Versailles, which is the specifically German treaty, punished them so hard, is because that's how the U.S. knew that they could get paid. Is like,
yep, they wanted their fucking money.
Right, Bulgaria and fucking the Ottoman Empire and Austria-Hungary, which was fucked at that point. They're not going to get money from them. It's
well, they're not going to get paid because they don't fucking exist anymore. That's the problem.
It's like getting blood from a turnip. Like, yeah, good luck. Good luck. And so that's why they hit Germany so hard after the fact. It's like, so when you think about it that way, you're like, oh, well, that's not good. That's not good. It's all about money. And, 120,000 Americans lost their lives, albeit about half of that was from actual combat. But still, in 7 months of actual combat, 60,000+ Americans died.
Which was actually a horrendously high number for people that participated.
Oh, yeah.
Percentage-wise in time.
Oh, yeah.
Like, over a month, over that, like, last year of the war, like, percentage-wise, Americans put up, like, the 4th highest casualties behind, like, Germany, Russia, Austria, Hungary, and France. It was, like, obscene.
It was ridiculous because when they first got into contact, they were so inexperienced, they just didn't listen. They got fucking annihilated. And then as it went on, it was the whole stories, kind of like a lot of stories. Like, that's one unit of Americans. Like, a lot of the other units were the same way. Where there's
a lot of units where you see 90 to 95% casualty rates.
Yep. And it's, well, it's same in the Second World War in the South Pacific. Like, there's a lot of
There's a lot of learning that had to be done. But that's, I've said it before, that's how Americans do crap. They go into it not knowing what's going on. Take one fucking hell of a beating, but they learn from it really fast.
And then they
World War II.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. Like, in both theaters, it's the Pacific
Theater.
Theater.
North Africa, they get absolutely destroyed by the Germans. Same thing against the Japanese. Absolutely destroyed. But they come back from it, like, from those horrendous casualties, and they learn. And they take what they learned and they adapt so quickly because they have this huge manufacturing might and a nearly limitless supply of the rest of the world's money to like change all that stuff.
So yeah, it's very interesting to see that. And so yeah, it's when Dan Carlin was talking about who he thinks the most influential person was of the 20th century, and a lot of people are like Adolf Hitler. It's like, nah. Go back a little bit farther. Go back a little bit. And like Dan Carlin said, he goes, Gavrilo Princip.
That's right. The modern world would not be what it is without that one Serbian guy.
That 19-year-old guy. It's like everything.
Think about it. Without him, there's no communism. There's no Adolf Hitler. There's no terrorists in the Middle East. There's no
Cold War.
Yeah, there's none of this going on right now. That one guy decided it'd be a smart-ass idea, though, to be uppity in college and try to change the world. And he did. By God, he did.
So that's the whole thing. Is like it's pretty interesting to think about that. Like, one guy could be that influential.
In hindsight, of course, yeah.
Oh, in hindsight, for sure. But like, it's still relevant because like the whole Middle Eastern thing, Iraq and Afghanistan. That wouldn't happen
without World War I. If the Ottoman Empire if the Middle East didn't get divided like it currently looks like by the Allies, we wouldn't have this problem.
Yep. Yeah, it's really interesting, but that's why I said, Mike, we're gonna get you into World War I. We're gonna get you hooked, line and sinker.
I appreciate it.
It might take a little bit.
The itchiest wool clothing money can buy.
I've never done any World War I artwork, so yeah, that might be something that I have to start with when it comes to research.
It's really because I'm sure you're the same way that I was, and I'm sure Devin was. Like, you feel so far removed from it because it's all black and white. It's all just like this kind of unknown, and it's just so far back. And
it's almost like looking through a pane of tinted glass because it is so far back. It has like this kind of blurred effect,
right?
Almost. But you know, you hear about one guy falling and he put his hand. I remember reading the story. This one guy falling in a shell explosion. And he put his hand, what used to be like into a guy's head, like through his face as he fell. And he's like,
fell into the body.
yeah, and he's like, no, but yeah, but like put his hand through the hole of what used to be this guy's face.
Yeah,
and talking about that, he's like, I relive that every day.
Oh, I'm sure he does. I mean,
Well, and then, you know.
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I was going to tell. I don't know if I sent Devin this. I posted on my Facebook thing a while back about that. I sent you this, Mike, and you watched it. The World War I German soldier that was describing what it was like to actually go on an assault and stab a French soldier.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, and like he just describes it in. This guy is like probably what 80 at that point.
Yeah.
You know, and it's he just describes it, and you can tell like he's just saying what happened, and at the end he goes, "Is that is that good? Is that what you wanted?"
Yep.
I'm like, yep, that's it. Okay.
It's
and
it's so terrible of a conflict because unlike every other conflict where you're in close proximity to not just the enemy but your friends for such a long. This hasn't happened before or since in history where you're this close to other people for this long while there's a war going on around you, whether it be enemy or friends or whatever. There's points where like you hear about them not having places to bury dead bodies, so they put them in the walls of the trench.
Right.
And body parts, as they start to like decay, are slumping out of the walls of the trench. And there's so many flies, and there's so many like the ground is spongy because they're burying them beneath the like duck boards in the trench. And the flies are so bad on some fronts where they're slapping e-tools against the sides of the trench and killing thousands of flies in each swing. And you're living in this, like the Germans, some of these Germans, because a lot of the infantry stayed on they didn't get rotated off as much as like other people. So there's Germans that are literally living in this for years. And how it just wears on your psyche, and it's something I can't even begin to fathom. But I try to get a narrow window into how human beings could even remotely begin to fathom this level of carnage.
Yeah.
And
well, I think
straight up.
Yeah, I think that's why. I mean, World War I and World War II. They were, as you said about World War I, it was the turning point of the modern era and all that stuff with all of this technology coming around, and it was like they were unprepared for the results of that at the time. So where it results in that sort of thing. I mean, and it's no surprise that so much crazy shit happened because of that. And Jesus Christ.
Fair.
Yeah,
but there's good parts of it too, like all the humor you hear about it. Like one of those arms that fell out of the trench one day in like Gallipoli. The British used to come out of their dugouts every morning to go fight, and as they would walk by, they'd shake this hand just for like comedic relief, and then there's the one Frenchman who actually got a medal because he killed a German soldier with a loaf of bread.
I think I've heard about that.
Stale baguette, like literally killed a German soldier with like a stale baguette.
Because it was just so rock hard or something?
Yeah, it had been sitting around for so long, and he ended up like whapping him across the head with it or something, like killed him.
I done gave him 2 good whacks around the head, across the head.
Yep. There's good parts about it, like the Christmas truce. There's something to break it up, but
right. Well, there's
still horrendous.
When I study war history, there is individual memoirs and stuff like that. There is a lot of these things that are, normally would be very morbid or something, but when they describe them at the time, like they're humorous. Like, do you guys know? You guys read "With the Old Breed" by Eugene Sledge?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't read it, but I know of it. Yeah.
But there's a part where he talks about. In fact, they depict it in the show The Pacific. There's a part where he talks about his friend went to go take a shit, and when he's going to take a shit, a Japanese soldier came out with a bayonet to stab him, and he ran away from him while his pants were at his ankles while he was taking a shit, and he said that he was running, and the guy who he was running towards had a BAR, Browning automatic rifle, and he was like yelling, shoot him, shoot him, shoot him, as he was running towards him. And the guy with the BAR let him get close enough to when he shot him, it broke the guy completely in half. like when he shot him with the BAR, and he was like, why did you take so long to shoot? Because I wanted to get him close enough to chop him in half just for fun, like just for the hell of it.
I could, yeah.
So it's very morbid and fucked up, but like you understand when. Well, I mean, you can only understand if you're there, but like when I listen to those stories, like I've studied it enough to where it's like I can understand why people would go to that level of
fair.
Like,
well, it exists even today. I'm sure Mike understands as much as I do about the kind of morbid sense of humor that soldiers have.
It's not something I can say on a stream, and that
civilians don't really get it. But like I was talking to you about how like I had a flashbang thrown at me in the shower because
he just told me that.
Funny. The day before my birthday. Horrendous birthday present. I know, right? But
as someone who's like me, I've never been in the military, and he told me that. I was like, that seems like something that would get you like discharged or something. I can't believe someone
Mike, tell him the story about the body armor wire.
Oh yeah, like that wasn't in country, but like that was right after we got issued our IOTVs, like the new vests. There was a quick release on the vest.
So if you do you can pull this and your body armor falls off.
Or if you get hit with an IED and you're on fire,
quick release.
Yep. Well, they said when we were getting like taught how to do this, they issued them like apart, and you have to put them together. Mm-hmm. And so they're like, we're doing this massive class, and okay, bam, put it together. Oh, that's the pain in the ass. Oh, fuck this detail. Okay, whatever. They're like, yeah, don't pull this out unless you absolutely need to. It's a Feel Great Article 15 because there was a guy in Iraq who was fucking around with his buddy at a traffic control point, ripped his fucking cord off, and a sniper hit him in the fucking chest. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's the story they told us.
Yeah.
And I think I actually looked that up, and it was true. And he's like, that guy died because they were fucking around, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're doing some training or some shit, and there's this. He was an E4 at the time, but he was an E5 like on the deployment. Not in my unit per se, because he got separated from us, but like he just goes up and he's like, right before we were about to go out to a range.
Oh.
Pulls my shit, and when you pull that, the whole vest falls off.
Right, yeah.
It's in 4 parts: the front, the back, and the 2 sides.
It's gone. The sides, everything's gone. And it takes like 10 to 15 minutes to get it together just right.
Yeah.
And it's like you got to be precise. And we're about to go to a fucking range, and I'm like, what in the fuck? I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? And I'm like, fuck you. I was a private. He was an NCO, and I'm like, fuck you. He goes, what the fuck did you say to me? I'm like, you want a fucking field grade? I'm like, there's a bunch of people around here that just saw you do that shit. You want a fucking field grade? Fuck you.
Yeah.
and he's like, oh well, okay, whatever. He jumps on the bus, and I grabbed the fucking pieces, and so on the bus I had to put it back together, which was not fun.
So you were just trying to be funny.
Yeah, and I'm like, you claim to be this hardcore guy. You were a scout on the first deployment. You got your CIB. You're a fucking badass, and you're gonna be that fucking retarded. Like, fuck you.
Yeah, Jesus.
And so, but yeah, that's the kind of shit that goes down in the military. Like, it's just, I don't know, dumb shit just happens. But like, yeah, a lot of the shit is just fucking dark. And,
I mean, to be fair though, it was probably a pretty funny joke for some people.
Oh, for him and his cronies, yeah, it was great. They were laughing.
Then it's worth it.
Yeah.
Right, and that's the whole thing. Is like, yeah, it was.
If you have nothing better to do other than die of thirst and die of hunger and be bored out of your mind and get shot at, I mean, that's pretty worth it.
Yeah. Well,
Mike, that wasn't in theater, by the way. That was not. That was
no. That's just on the range. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, do you remember a few days ago when we had one of our actors? I won't say his name. We were talking, and one of the actors who's in our movie, and he was in Afghanistan. He was talking about how after like they were just going through the shit, and he said that someone came in and said the turf got blown in half.
Yep.
And he said that everyone just burst out laughing when he said that. Just like, yeah, it's dark shit. But what are you gonna do?
Well, yeah, what are you gonna do? You're in that situation. It's like, well, at the time, it's really funny because you're just like,
you're so detached from reality because you're like, I'm in danger. So
yeah, it's. I mean, it is what it is, and like, World War I is filled with that shit, and every conflict is. So it's. It's.
I don't know. They probably wish they had body armor.
Yeah.
In World War I.
Yeah.
Well, they did. They had the big ass like metal things, right?
The lobster, the lobster armor.
Yeah.
But you're not walking with that. Do you know how fucking heavy those are?
I don't. I'm not saying everyone did. I'm just saying that like I know that like whatever, didn't the stormtroopers like have some kind of armor or something they would wear like occasionally?
Yeah, but like
hardly ever though. Usually just for pictures because it's so
Right.
heavy and hard to move in.
And it's
Right,
loud.
yeah.
It's loud. There's no padding in between those layers. So when you're walking, it's
And these are all like 1/4-inch steel plates because
Yeah.
all the rifles back then are ludicrously overpowered for what they had to be. Like the guys before World War I are training to make 1,200-yard shots, and the rifle can easily do that. All right,
Mhm.
you're shooting each other at 100 yards, sometimes maximum. There's to the point where like it got so bad that the sights, a lot of the sights in World War I guns are like minimum sighted for like 300, sometimes
400.
like 400, 450 meters, that they're telling you to like aim at a guy's belt in order to hit him in the chest. You have to aim that low because these things are so ludicrously overpowered. So they gave those to like machine gunners. So that way, if grenades are going off and they're being shot at, they can keep operating their machine gun even if they get hit. But there's still to the point where like some of those, like the French, because they were kind of right place, right time against their things. So like the Germans had K bullets, which were like armor-piercing bullets and stuff like that. Well, the French bullets in World War I weren't actually lead and copper. They were just turned brass, solid turned brass projectile. And so their bullets already had like armor defeating capabilities. So like you would only see the lobster armor and stuff like that on like the British fronts and stuff like that, where the bullets were softer because a French person shot somebody with a Berthier or a Lebel in that lobster armor.
You're done.
It's either going to go through or really, really put a hurting on you to where you're not really going to want to fight anymore.
Yeah. Like I got hit in the chest with a hammer.
I wish it was only getting hit in the chest by a hammer.
Right.
Sledgehammer with a guy that makes me look fucking small, and that's all muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
No, I remember when I was younger, a lot of people thought that like a bulletproof vest was a lifesaver or something. Like,
no,
it still feels like you got like.
You might stop a knife and like small handguns.
Yeah.
But even then, some of the smaller handguns, you're not just walking away from that super easily. You're going to have some like recuperation period where you're going to have to like recover and recompose yourself.
Oh yeah.
You can start then fleeing or fighting or doing whatever. So.
Yep.
They're not as good as people think.
No.
But I mean, if you want to try one out, we can get some like non-lethal shotgun rounds and like nail you once really good with like a beanbag.
Beanbags, those are.
But it'll have a vest on. It won't be as bad as actually getting shot.
Right.
I'll be surprised if you stay standing.
I'll be back in
It's a fun time. You can't tell me you've never got drunk and shot at each other in a bulletproof vest.
I've never been drunk ever.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I'm doing pretty good. I haven't had a drink for a while.
Nice.
I'm trying to cut out all of my, not all of my bad habits. I gotta have some cool points still, but like all that other good stuff. But I switched on my diet and everything, and I'm trying to be healthier and try. I'm already a very good person, but I'm trying to go out of my way to be an even nicer person.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, I'm getting called a simp all the time now, which is
because you're simping on ladies,
right. Huh?
You're simping on ladies? Is that what they say?
Sometimes, well, I actually have a lot more friends who are ladies than friends who are men because I'm one of the few people that actually understands women, and they're a lot less complicated than people make them out to be.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't understand anything that's just remotely different from them. So
fair. Well, I mean, this is America. I mean, sometimes I look at some people and I'm like, I wonder how life is sustained at an IQ that low.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I understand.
What do you do? Is Mike peeing again with his kitten bladder?
I think he just left.
That's what I call him all the time. Like, oh, you got to go to the bathroom again, kitten bladder?
Nice. I'm trying to find something right now that.
What are you looking for?
It's this thing that's just fucking ridiculous video from like the late '80s of this guy who invented the Kevlar vest where he's like shooting himself in the chest repeatedly.
Yeah. Those are good ones. Like the guys that invented like the body armor for World War I, the like angled like steel stuff.
Right.
Like, yeah, shooting each other in the street to like show it off.
Yeah,
like,
Richard. Yeah, Richard Davis is. I just found his name. Richard Davis is the guy's name, and Richard Davis created Second Chance body armor like back in the 70s because he was in Vietnam and thought he should do it. And like throughout the 80s, I've seen these clips of him where he's just like shooting himself in the chest repeatedly with guns.
Yep.
That hurts though.
Yeah.
That hurts a lot.
That's not good.
Well, I mean, probably not using like big rounds, I'm guessing.
No, it's like it. I can't tell in this video, but like here I'm watching a clip.
So I'm like, he's definitely not plugging himself with like a 44 Magnum or anything like that. That's for sure.
I don't think so. No, it's like it's some kind of revolver. I can't. The quality is so shit.
It's probably a 38, which is still like.
That's still gonna hurt.
I mean, dude, getting hit with a paintball hurts. All right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it does. Yeah, Richard Davis is that he made these like series of these ridiculous videos throughout the 80s where he would try and promote his body armor, but then they would just devolve into him like lifting weights to show how strong he is, and then he would occasionally shoot himself, and then he'd like start shooting at cars and like showing like, hey, look how the movies, it doesn't happen in the movies, and then like the car would explode because he filled it full of thermite or something, and yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's like a salesman.
It's like
I don't know about
80s
you, but I'm very interested in buying what that guy is selling.
No, it's like literally the 80s YouTuber is what we're talking about right now.
Yeah. Yeah, look it up sometime. Richard Davis body armor. It's pretty funny.
Oh,
how's the Taz 90 cap treating you? I'll go get that in a little bit.
Well, I hope.
It's actually a little bit too big.
Yeah, they're a little oversized. The Swiss ones are kind of like the Finnish ones. You got to dial them back a bit.
I should have gotten the 59, but like.
Yeah.
So
like, that's one of the ones where I have to buy a 57 because it's.
Yep.
Yeah. So thankfully, with some of this lighting right now, it's a bit lighter in here. For my movie Reveille, I've been collecting various things. I have a shitload of M1 helmets here, but
wait,
they all need.
You're making a movie?
You didn't know that, Mike?
Wait, who are you? No, just get.
Where did it come from? Yeah, Mike, we're making movies. Go ahead.
Do you have a lead actor? I could do that.
Yeah, do you have somebody that played Bloated Corpse #1?
Mike, do you want to be Audie Murphy?
Yes,
Mike,
I am
M1
Audie
helmet on. It's a spitting image. Put your M1 helmet on. It's a.
I'm only almost a foot taller than him, and like brown hair and fat. Like it's gonna be so realistic. Like let's do this.
Well, you know, we already got the costume and uniform, so it's gonna be kind of bulging on you a little bit, you know, with the spaces in between the buttons.
Well, I used to work at Chippendales. You think that bothers me?
Now I'm just seeing like Chris Farley, like Saturday Night Live.
Yeah,
like,
we were talking about that not too long ago.
So, really quick before we get into that shit, Mike.
Yeah.
Would you be surprised if I said I may have done that one night on a bar stool?
You did the Chippendales dance from
not at all. That does not surprise me at all.
Somebody may have played Loverboys Working for the Weekend.
Oh god.
And I may have been a little bit not sober back in the day. And I may actually, I jumped up and I did the fucking this thing.
Did you take your shirt in between your pants and?
Yeah. Well, I was wearing. Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
I'm sure it was good.
Oh no, people were laughing so hard I lost like the music. Like I couldn't hear the music. And I'm like, well, what the fuck? You need to shut up so I can listen to the music. And like, I gotta have my
what
notes.
I'm supposed to be in my performance.
Yeah, like, come on. And I may have done that, and I didn't pay for a single drink the rest of that night.
That's fantastic.
That's
worth every penny.
Oh yeah, it was bad. My tits were going one way, my gut was going the other. It was amazing. Like, it was fantastic.
Oh gosh.
Oh Lord.
Mike, how much money to be donated for that to be a thing on stream?
Oh well, see, Mikey's been out of the loop for a while.
Mike, come on now.
Mikey's been out of the loop for a while.
Like a 2-bit whore. Let's do this.
Well, you would have to be here, and you know,
Would I
so
have to be like the Patrick Swayze?
I was just gonna say that. I was about to say, are you gonna be Patrick Swayze in this whole thing?
Am I gonna have to buy like the wig to have like his big long flowing hair?
You're gonna be
and then
Adrian?
try not to laugh the whole way through, like
fair,
you know.
fair, yeah.
'Cause, I mean, you could tell Patrick Swayze he's a very composed guy. He's a very good actor and everything.
Yeah.
And he was sitting there like, you know,
How
I
do you
can't.
Yeah, in the video, yeah.
I can't do this, you know.
God.
But yeah, I mean, you'd have to add some zeros to a 1, like several zeros, for me to actually get up and do a
Where's
live stream.
Golden? He's got a trust fund. Golden, where are you? Come here, boy.
Oh my god.
This needs to be a thing now. Somebody's got to crowdfund it.
Here's what I could do. I could do it on a live stream for a certain amount of money, and then I could sell it as an NFT.
There you go.
I mean, like let's be honest here. I could sell it as an NFT and make bank, and then never have to talk to you or Mike again.
That's fair. That's fair.
Thanks.
Well, I mean, I'm willing to cut you both out of my life if I made $1 million. Like I'd be gone. Like you never see my fat ass again. Like I'd be out, you know, 1,000 acres in Wyoming or some shit, you know, just kind of living life.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, show it. Mike A, not Mike B.
Oh, show what I got right here.
Show and tell time. Let's go.
Okay, so I've got a number of helmets here, and they're all in various stages of terrible condition.
That's the original paint though on that one.
You can tell. Is that it? The olive drab?
Yeah, that's a OD whatever the
That's
fuck
the
3.
darker one, yeah.
OD 3.
Yeah, dent on the top of it.
You could pat that out.
Yeah, you just take a hammer and you pound that out. That's fine.
Right. This was a 6th bale one, but it's got they're broken off. They don't have them.
Very common.
That's gonna be a problem. But like, I already sent you that source, so we got that.
Right.
But that's the original paint. That's good. That's a good thing.
Right. Okay. So that one's not too bad, except for the ding on the top. This one, I don't know what to say about this. It's also front seam with fixed bales. It's missing one bale, but it has like this star that's been like drawn on there with a crayon. So I don't know what that's all about. And I think this might also be original paint job. It's a little
bit lighter, yeah, but like that's the late war. The late war, dude. There were like 7 different helmet colors for the M1.
There was, yeah. There's
Okay.
a lot of them.
Well,
but I'll tell you what, that guy's probably a Marine because it has crayon on it. So.
Well, and then it came with this liner, which is I think Vietnam era.
Yeah. That's the Vietnam era, yeah.
And yeah, it's not as.
But I mean, to be fair, as long as the chin strap's correct, it doesn't matter what fucking liner you have in it if they're wearing it because they won't see it. So
depends on the angles, but all right. So there's that guy. This one is definitely repainted, but the paint looks not too bad. I mean,
it's not terrible.
No,
not terrible. It's also a fixed bale, and this is the liner on the inside, and looks pretty good.
Let's see the liner. Let's see the. Oh, it's yeah. That's correct. Yep.
Yep. That's OD number 3. That's correct. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Early to mid-war. Yep.
Right. It has both bales. So that's pretty good.
Need the chin strap, and you're good.
Yep. This one right here smelled like God knows what when I got it.
We've all been there. We've all been there.
Unfortunately, this thing is like painted brown. It's
it's probably one of the Middle Eastern aid ones that came back. They painted a lot of those brown. So
I don't know. The straps they look original. They're kind of dark though, but like they're all like the actual parts, the metal parts are corroded.
That's a late war OD. Is that OD7?
No, that's brown. Oh,
the chin straps.
Is that even the right chin strap?
Yeah, it is. Like in late war, they had OD. I just forget what.
Oh, it's just really spread out. That prong hook.
Yeah,
weird.
It's old as shit. Here's the other.
Yeah, that's the OD number 7. That's the darker one.
Yeah, so that's the OD7. They made all the webbing from or not all of it, like a lot of that from 43 on. People were like, oh, it's Korean War. Well, no, it was in World War II.
See, basically by the end of the war, you're going to see a lot more of the OD number 7 than you will the OD number 3.
But in 43, late 43, you're going to see the OD3.
Yep.
So the khaki.
So you're not going to see a lot of OD7 until late 44, early 45. But
then you see a lot of it. Yep.
So you can see it in Italy. You can see the OD number 3. It's the OD number 7. It starts making its appearance in Italy. So,
but a year later,
there's the liner in there.
Okay, OD number 3 again. Yeah.
Yep. Good high pressure liner.
Yep. It's fun. Except when I take this off, it's got these like captain bars right here on the front of it, which is interesting.
It's not going to be relevant. Oh, Sixth Army. That's what that was. That decal on top of there. Sixth Army.
It's the Kami-Ju division.
No. That Sixth Army is not a division. It's an army, like
still the Kami-Ju insignia.
Right. The 6-pointed star.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's going to be inside the helmet anyway. But I just thought that was an interesting thing, was that captain bar on the front.
Yeah, that liner's good. The chin strap's going to have to.
Yeah, we're going to have to do something about it. Then this is the very first one I ever got, which is this bizarre, like, lime green color.
Yeah.
Yep. I've got one of those, too.
It's awfully shiny, too.
Yeah, well, it's like you can tell it's spray paint from, like, the dollar store or, like, Walmart or something. But oh, okay, yeah. Although when I showed it to someone, they were like, that might be a Navy helmet. I was like, I don't think
they'd be gray.
The Navy would be gray, yeah.
Right. But the interesting thing, so like, another reason you can, what do you got there, Mike?
No, just the helmet. I was showing you. Like, it's got a 1 on the front.
Oh, interesting.
They try to make a big red 1, but like, yeah, it's the same color paint. It's that weird, fucking like, hunter green. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's and you can tell that it was a paint job because these are the original chin straps. They're all fucked, but like you can see where the paint bled off onto it.
Yep.
Oh yeah, where somebody very clearly didn't tape it or anything to like try to even keep it looking nice.
Right. Yeah. So those gotta go, but it is fixed. All the ones I have are fixed bails and front seams. And the interesting thing about this one is that the owner of this carved his name on the inside of it. It says Lion.
Yeah. Don't fuck with that one.
Yeah. So that's kind of neat.
So yeah, we'll talk about that later. But like, I've got some that need to be redone anyway that I was gonna do. We can get that done for this film. There's a couple that I wouldn't fuck with that you have, like the one with the original chin strap. That's the wrong color. Don't fuck with that.
Because they're worth a lot of money.
Right, and I've got liners that have to be restored and everything that I was going to do anyway. So I can supplement. I've got a bunch of front seam shells here. I've got like a stack of them.
Cool, sweet, thank you.
So, but yeah, it's yeah, you've got a couple of that you can use for sure. Just right that.
So that's kind of. I also got. I don't know if this is going to be used, but I got the shrimp net. So that's kind of
that's.
That wouldn't be correct. He needs the wider.
Well, no. Here's the thing: is like most third ID guys that I've seen in Italy just don't have anything on their helmets.
Fair.
Okay.
Like the original pictures, like they just don't have anything. It's
just
a shell, and most people in the ETO in general weren't going to be wearing nets. And if they did, they'd ditch them because when you have to take the helmet apart, every time you take it apart, to use it for like a wash basin or whatever, you have to put the net back on, and it's a pain in the ass. And
most movies like to depict the nets, though. They like that look.
Well, no, a lot of times they'd have them in invasions.
Yeah, you'll see them on like first attack waves. You'll see them on paratroopers, and you see the Marines really like them a lot, where concealment is a big thing.
Right.
So,
but in Italy,
it's the 1 inch or the 2 inch netting. It's not that fine.
Yeah, the vehicle netting. Yep.
Yeah.
And the shrimp net, it was there, but it wasn't like. It's not gonna be like a regular thing. Mainly, shrimp net actually came out and like saw a lot of action in Germany in fighting, like in the Rhineland and shit.
Okay.
In Aachen and stuff like that. That's where you see a lot of the shrimp net stuff later on. Just because it by that time their helmets were gonna be kind of shiny.
Yeah, worn down. The paint would have been wearing off of them pretty easy.
Right. So. Again, this is just my observations. This isn't a fact.
Fair. And the shrimp nets were actually really liked because people would use them and make them into other shit like bags, because it was stuff wouldn't fall through it as easy. So it was better use in another modified role than as a helmet cover. So.
Yep.
It's been a few days. I'm just kind of sharing some other stuff I have. This is not. I have more stuff. It's just way over there. But This is a Luger holster, which is kind of cool. Spent a few days out in the sun. Still probably could spend a bit more. It still looks pretty good.
Gonna need a few more. You're gonna put some water on it too.
And you got to get some shoe polish on it to get that white thread to not be white.
Oh, was that a common thing, or was it just?
They would have polished holsters if they would have got a nice leather holster like that. That was part of maintaining the leather. Otherwise, when it gets wet, it would disintegrate. So. Oh,
interesting. Okay. Well, so there's that thing, but that's actually going to be carried by an American character as a souvenir, not a German character, and so that's going to be kind of interesting.
By then it probably, if it had been used in the war at any point, like I'm sure it was, even just being carried around, you would see scuffs on it from it being bumped on stuff. That would have been very clearly covered over with some kind of leather grease or polish to help preserve it. Because ultimately that's going to keep your gun from getting wet then. And it's also going to make the leather last a lot longer and not be as stiff, which would be more comfortable to carry.
Right. Okay, cool. And also, because this movie is in Italy, you have some German characters with the Italian camouflage trousers on. So some nice M29s here. So I like the camouflage a lot, honestly.
It's really good. It works well, especially in Italy and like up in the mountains.
Yes, it is a bitch to draw.
It's a pretty cool pattern. It's
all camouflage. I mean, I know you guys aren't you guys don't draw, but as an artist, camouflage. Anytime you're drawing something, when it comes to this war history stuff, and if someone's wearing camouflage, I'm just like, God damn it. Because
just get good. Just don't half-ass it. Get good and start drawing palm.
Okay.
In details.
Or like any of the SS camouflages. Fuck that.
Palm is the worst.
Yeah, well, because it has all those fucking different directional fucking things.
But it's also the most effective, in my opinion.
Well, the problem with when you're drawing it, at least this is the problem I run into, is that you have to create obviously the texture of it. But then you also have to make it look like it's bending, like the fabric is bending. And it's just really hard to accomplish when you're drawing because you're having to do like this texture and then like shade it at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's a bitch. And then, so this is a funny story. Not that funny. It's kind of funny. One of
Way to sell it, Mike.
Like, it's funny to me.
Who the fuck wants to hear this shit?
I do. I want to hear it. Let's go.
So for this movie, we've been doing a lot of outreach to people who are into the Murphy fandom, and there's a gentleman.
America? Congratulations.
Yeah. Yes. So there's this gentleman who is quite old, but he actually like knew the Murphy family, and he wanted to get in touch with us. So we were like, sure, we'll talk to you on the phone. We talked to him. He's like this old Texan guy. And he made it clear that in the chapter that this movie is based on, Murphy says that he put his slicker over one of the wounded German soldiers. And he was like, now, just to be sure, that's a rain poncho, not a raincoat. And I said, yeah, okay. Anyway, and then he was like, no. This is an important thing. And he just like really made sure that I knew that slicker is like a Texan term for like a poncho. So Mike sent me a link to an American poncho, not a raincoat, that they would have had during the late 1943. So I made sure of buying this, and I took a photo of it, and I sent it to that old man. I said, "We got your slicker," and he was happy.
Damn.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Damn.
Yeah, but no, it was because in my script, I remember reading that in the script, and I was just like, whatever. I'll just change. I changed it in my script where Murphy just put his field jacket over him. That's how I wrote it. And then when he told me that over the phone, I kind of thought about it. I said, you know what? My whole point is that if you're going to do it right. So why not just take the time and buy this fucking poncho? So
right. And Murphy, honest to God, like we were talking about too, is, on the early stages, like the American equipment, Murphy's going to be wearing a 28 pack.
Yep.
And so he's going to be able to put his poncho in there, some other things, maybe a change of socks and whatnot.
There. And this might be something where I know something that you guys don't.
Oh,
so, you know what's cool about the poncho? It was actually something that was used in both World War II, Korea, and Vietnam for the same purpose.
Yep.
It was a good improvised stretcher and or cover for bodies.
Yep.
So if you need to get somebody somewhere, you could get 4 guys and they each grab a corner of the poncho and they could carry him off somewhere.
Well, that's why in his film, like he says, he put his slicker, which is the poncho, over the dead body, the German.
Right.
So
that it's because he's gonna be able to get another one from supply.
Yep.
Like it is what it is, and like so, yeah. That's because Mike and I we had like a fucking 3-hour conversation about that, and it was like, well, yeah, it would be a poncho. It wouldn't be like a raincoat because raincoats were. Well, let's be honest, mainly rear echelon officers were the ones that were going to be wearing those or had those because they wouldn't have to carry it.
Fair. And ponchos, are better because you could collect water in them. You can use them as an improvised shelter if you have to, a ground sheet. It's just a bigger piece of fabric that has more uses to somebody on the front line than a raincoat would.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can sleep on it. You can
cover with it. The Army is all about one thing that does a lot of things. So rather doing one thing really, really well, it does 4 things kind of okay.
Well, that's how they issued us ponchos when I was in. Like, it's a very practical piece of equipment.
But the best part was the liner. I agree.
Yeah. I got the weasel horse is doing his thing. He's got to go out and poop. I'll be back.
All right.
Fucking weasel horse. Animals, don't get them. Well, do get them. Take care of them.
I got a fake houseplant. Harold's my speed. He's right there. It's Harold.
Oh, I see it. Yes. That's well, it is a piece of life, so it does count, I guess.
He's plastic. He's going to survive the end of the world.
This thing, I think, is original, and it smells like you wouldn't believe.
It smells like old fucking rubber and tires and shit. I'm sure.
It does, and like the buttons are. I don't know if you can see them. They're like so much corrosion on them and everything. And it's just like oily and everything.
Do you have some oil, like silicone oil?
I don't, but I could get some.
I would get some and go over that because usually when stuff because I have an original World War I rubberized canvas ground sheet. Yeah. And the second that stuff hits sunlight or dry air, it cracks when it's that old.
Oh, okay.
You want to get like a sponge, not like a dishwashing sponge, but like a kind of like piece of foam.
Yeah.
Like for paint, like one of those foam like paint brushes, you know what those are.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, those
so like putting polyurethane on wood or something, yeah. And just get a little tube of silicone oil and just do a nice light layer over it because that's gonna, like when you have rubber like that, it's gonna keep its life a lot longer than so.
Okay, good to know. I'll do that because
I'm a nerd about all that stuff. I have a nice pair of rubber Wellingtons, like actual natural rubber, like Wellingtons, like the big tall rain boots, and I have to do that every year to keep them from cracking. You have to go over them with a nice light layer, or otherwise they will crack and split, and then they're not as good anymore.
So otherwise, you're gonna step out in the sun. Your boots will just start like disintegrating on your feet, or something?
Yeah. If you leave them too much, a lot of it is like the UV. Rubber does not react well to obviously dry environments, which is why tires dry rot so much better down in the desert.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And the UV kind of breaks down the molecular structure of natural rubber, which is why everything is made of like polyurethane rubber now because it doesn't do that. So
interesting.
Yeah, that's something I had to learn the hard way. I've ruined some shit. And I went and I'm like, how can I keep this from happening? And that's how you do it. So I just got a big ass jug of like silicone oil now, and you just take a sponge and you go over it nice and light. So, and then you obviously, after you let it sit for a day, you just take a paper towel and like wipe it off so it's not shiny. But
okay, well, I'll have to do that because this thing's in good condition though, although it stinks like you wouldn't believe. But
oh yeah, they reek. They reek. But once you get it outside and air it out, it'll be all right. It'll not stink as bad.
It smells like an Army Navy store.
I love that smell though. That like mothballs and stuff, mildew, mothballs, and what is it? Anti molding agent. That powder they fucking throw on everything.
And fucking
moisture control powder. Yeah.
Aged canvas. Yeah, you're like, well, this isn't good, but it's great.
And then you get all that stuff that's been in the like really tropical or desert environments that just absolutely reeks like shit and like body odor and everything else. Yeah.
And you get it and you're like, what are we doing here? Like,
and it's like sticky, like not in a good way, not like a sticky, like a candy way, but a sticky, like, oh, that's bodily fluids that have been sitting for a long time way.
But
What how many guys just put like shit in their pants? You know.
A lot of them.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. That's why it's hard to get surplus pants.
That's fair. Also, people just wore them into oblivion because the pants are great.
Right. Yeah, there's been a lot of people that even like in modern conflicts, like shit goes down, they shit in their pants.
Yeah.
Like, well.
Well, I never shit myself, but I did piss my pants twice while I was on deployment because you can't leave post and stuff, obviously. And obviously, you have to plan like half an hour in advance to like undo this fucking Kevlar diaper you have on to protect your groin region. And you're like femoral. Then you have like your pants, which have buttons on them, like 4 buttons because they're easier to fix than zippers. If you're a
You can try to justify this any way you want. I never pissed my pants once on deployment, so go fuck yourself.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you can't just like piss some places you're standing, and you can't just leave because that would be abandoning your post.
What places can you not piss where you're standing?
The top of an air-conditioned guard tower.
You can piss out of a fucking guard tower.
You can just
not if the windows don't open.
Well, then here's the thing. You were irresponsible by not bringing an adequate amount of bottles up there.
That's true. That was my fault. I didn't say it wasn't my fault, but I have pissed my pants before. So
this is what are we doing here? Like, how did this get to this point? Like, you just admitted you pissed your pants twice, not once, but twice. Like
twice, yeah, twice.
I mean, once I'd be like, okay, it could happen. But I mean,
twice, yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
The second one was because I was told to watch a guy who had like a stroke or something. Yeah, and like he wasn't all there anymore, and they were like trying to figure out a way to get him into like medical, and I'm supposed to just watch this guy so he doesn't fall, or he got a concussion or something like that. And I was supposed to just watch him to make sure he doesn't fall asleep.
Whip your dick out, piss next to him, he'll wake up.
I mean, fair, but like, so I was like, I don't want to leave this guy. I was just like walking past, they're like, you, come here. You know, one of those things. Watch this guy. He's like brain dead or something. Make sure he doesn't fall asleep.
And you found that pissing your pants
would be a better... What the fuck do you want me to do? I was like literally on my way to the bathroom, and this guy's like, come here. So.
Well, you're so Canadian. You're like, you're not even going to bring up the fact that like, yeah, Sergeant, I appreciate that. I have to piss first, and then I'll go do this. You just don't want the conflict because you're fucking
pretty
Canadian.
much. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't expect to be standing there for like 2 fucking hours either. I'm like, fine, I'll watch the guy for 10 fucking minutes. And
that's because you're dumb.
So
when an NCO says you come here, you expect at least 8 hours.
Pretty much. I should have known better. You're right. But like, I was like, this guy's brain dead or whatever.
You're telling me that you were so fucking incompetent as a soldier. You were so fucking incompetent. You like somebody said in the comments, you never heard of piss jugs, okay, in the watchtower.
At that point, I didn't have a piss jug because I'm on the way to the fucking bathroom.
Right. Hey, penis, I was talking about when you're in the watchtower, when you're in the guard tower. You did not bother to bring up piss jugs or bottles or anything.
No, there's normally some up there.
And B, you're on your way to take a piss.
Yeah.
Instead of, saying, hey, Sergeant or whoever the fuck it was, I'm on my way to take a piss right now. I have to go really bad. I'll be right back, though, and I will do the detail that you requested. You were just like, I'm sorry for having to take a piss. I'm sorry. I'll watch this guy, and then I'm going to complain about it in a few years on a live stream that I pissed my pants because I was so sorry about having to go piss in the first place.
It was only a little bit. It wasn't like you could clearly tell I pissed my pants. It was like a little bit. I was able to hold it together. Barely.
How the fuck you think that makes it any better?
Yeah, because nobody could tell I pissed myself.
Well, then why did you bring it? So you just admitted. Okay, no. Let's unpack this. This is getting fucked up. This is getting fucked up. So you pissed your pants the first occasion. Although I don't agree with it, and I think you could have done a lot more things to mitigate that. Maybe I can see that. It's still whatever. The second scenario, now I'm even more like, if you pissed your pants a little bit, couple of dribbles, couple of drops, and nobody could tell, why in the fuck would you admit that?
Because you still pissed yourself.
Why would you openly admit that to the public? There's people in Afghanistan that are going to be like, Well, I thought he pissed himself.
That's fine. I mean, I have no self-respect. What do I care? I fucking pissed myself. Everyone's done it.
When I was fucking 5.
That's fine, Mike. I'm glad your life is so spoiled that you've never had to, deal with this in your entire life.
I'm
proud of you, Mike. I'm proud of you.
Dude, I will have you know, I held my piss for 7 hours when we were going on leave.
Mike, you told one of the last times we talked, you told me a story about when you shit your pants.
I've never shit my pants.
Okay. No, definitely. Which time though? Which time, Mike?
You told me that it was when you were. I forgot what the circumstances were. You were like in a giant line of people, though.
Oktoberfest.
Yeah,
2011.
Yeah.
Yes, Oktoberfest 2011. Yes, I indeed shit my pants. There was. See, well, here's the difference. Like, not saying that it was. No. It's fine. It's like I'm not embarrassed about it because it was not a planned like thing. Like I didn't know there was going to be a huge line. I didn't know that a fart was actually going to be a wicked shart.
Yeah, we've all been there before. That's a thing. We've all been there before. Yeah.
Right, but pissing your pants to me is like a different level of like.
It's a different ballpark, is what you're saying.
Well, if you're standing in the desert and you're drinking a fuck ton of water.
Yeah, I've been there, done that. Still never pissed my pants.
Sorry.
Oh my god, I got kind of okay. Yeah, when I was doing the combat footage thing, when I was or the combat training footage when we were out there at the military base filming there. I don't know if I've ever said this on the live stream, but I was at one point in 2018. I was commissioned by the military to be part of this big operation where we would go film their combat training. We'd go actually out to the military.
He doesn't want to say this. He's a hero. Just like, let's get it out of the way.
Thank you for your service, Mike.
He doesn't want to say this, but like he's a hero. So yeah.
It's
Did you reserve your spot at Arlington?
What's that?
Did you reserve your spot at Arlington for when you die?
I'm in what's that one?
Plot E or whatever.
Yeah. Plot E, yeah. But no, what happened was, we were out. It was a bunch of videographers that were hired by the military to go film their combat training to put together what they called a hero video to make the army look like
a hero video. Even oh my god,
that's what it was called. It's called a hero video. When you showed up on a lane, you'd be like, "Here to shooting hero video." Okay, go for it. But so there was one time where it was an armored brigade that had come in, and they had Abrams and Bradleys and Paladins and Strikers, a lot of Strikers. And I guess for people who don't know what a Striker is, it's like a tank, but it has wheels.
It's an APC with a main gun on it, a main armament, yeah.
But so out here in Idaho, like outside of the city, it's just barren, like desert hills with sagebrush and all that stuff. And it just sometimes it just goes on forever. And so that's what the Orchard Combat Training Center is out here. It's just, it's just desert, just goes on forever. And it's really cool, actually. But so we went out on a lane where the Strikers were doing this thing where it was kind of interesting. Like they would stop on the road and then they would like arm on the back would come out and like reach for like stuff on the ground. It was really interesting.
The IED things.
Right. Yeah. That's what it was.
So they go and like move trash on the road in case there's a bomb under it or something.
Right. Yeah. But it's the guy in the vehicle, like a rubber arm comes out of the vehicle. It looks really weird.
Yeah, the big boom with the little claw and the camera on it. Yeah. Yep.
But anywho, so we're doing that, and it's taking like a long time. And they're barely moving. They're just like moving every few inches.
Well, to be fair, you don't want to shake an explosive.
No, I don't blame them for being cautious. But like, it was just like this really goes to show how like tedious this process is. It's not.
And then he pissed his pants.
Well, what happened was, we were a ways away from it, but we were filming with like super long lenses to get like detail on it, and because it looks really cool from a distance when you're like super zoomed in and you get like the heat waves kind of coming up. It looks really cool. And so we're from my guy and I, we're shooting from a distance, and eventually the guys like start to get out of the turret and like just like look around and stuff. And so we're just kind of like, okay, I guess they're like taking a break or something. And we zoom in to shoot. I wasn't filming it, but my partner zoomed in and he said, and well, he was recording it. We saw the footage of it. He zoomed in, and a guy is squatting on the side of the vehicle with his pants down, and just like diarrhea is just dumping.
Oh, yeah.
Just running down the side of the vehicle. Yeah.
And he just like he burst out laughing, and then it stopped. But I'm like, what? And he told me, and I'm like, I don't want to see it, but like.
Did that make it into the highlight reel? Is that part of the new recruiting video?
We took it back. Put in like sound effects in there.
Yeah. Sit down the side of a nearly priceless piece of government equipment.
Right. Light brown rain.
Yeah, but anyway,
instead of purple rain. Yeah.
So we go back to
song Chocolate Rain.
So we go back to what is Chocolate Rain?
You've never seen the meme Chocolate Rain?
Let him finish his story. We'll get into
finish the story. Yeah.
Okay, so we go back to base. We go back to our office at the base to dump the footage. Dumping the footage means you just put it on the computer from the card, and we put the footage on the computer, and we're like, he's like, I want to know if I got an image of that, and our boss is there, and he's like, what do you got? What's going on? And we told him, okay, you got to see this and he pulled it up on the computer, and he pulled focus, and right when he pulled focus, you just saw the cascading diarrhea coming out the guy's ass on the footage. And we burst out laughing, but my boss, he was like, he immediately like closed it, and he was like, delete this, don't ever let anyone see this. Like,
American soldiers don't shit.
Right, but it was like that job, it was great, but like those guys were they were like super paranoid about stuff. Like if someone just spoke wrong, they were like
it's whole hero worship. There's American soldiers do no wrong.
Yeah. It was heavy out there, so it was stuff like that. Like they told us when like brass came into the room to talk to our bosses, they said don't look at him, don't talk to him, or anything like that. It was super.
Your furniture. We always got told your furniture. If somebody comes in the room, your furniture. You don't acknowledge anything.
Exactly, but in that case, like we burst out laughing. He was like, "Delete this right away," and we were like, and he said, "Don't tell anyone that you got that footage." And we were just like, "But it's hilarious." He's like, "No, we might get fired if like our bosses find out that you recorded that." And also, I guess that he also mentioned that they probably weren't supposed to be doing that. Like.
So what you're saying is that you have that on a hard drive somewhere, and we all get to see it, right?
I wasn't able to take the footage.
Damn it.
So.
It happens, though. It happens, unfortunately. But I remember talking to a guy whose job was that. He was in the Navy, an explosive ordnance guy, and that's what he did. He used the boom arms in one of those bomb disposal trucks, and he said it takes on average 11 hours to just even scope out one prospected explosive. 11 hours for the whole process. Whether there is one or not. So
it's not a quick process.
No. It's like, you don't really want to shake explosives, especially old Soviet explosives.
Well, ending on that, talking about explosive cascading diarrhea that you deleted, which I'm really not happy with.
I'm sorry. I was ordered too.
Oh, you're just following orders now, like a good little soldier. I see how it is.
The Zyklon B, I just put it in there. I was just folling orders.
That's a slippery slope, Mike. That's a slippery slope.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I can go back to those Macs and recover it if I can ever track them down again.
Because that is probably the most realistic experience that anybody's going to have in the military is like at the most inopportune time, your ass is going to explode.
Yep.
It's going to come out. It's not just like an actual like diarrhea, but it's going to come out with the force of Jesus Christ behind it. Like it's going to be.
They're obviously holding it as long as. You're trying to get to a moment where the least people are going to realize what's going on as possible, and you get to the point where like your guts feel like they're going to explode.
And when that plug comes out, oh my God.
Yeah, it'd be like if the Hoover Dam cracked.
Right, because you get that solid plug that's like holding it all in.
Yeah.
That defines how long you can hold it.
Yep.
If you're like, well, this is a good solid one because I was constipated, and
I've been eating MREs for the last like 3 weeks. Yep.
And then now it's got to go. That's why you get diverticulitis.
Yep.
And that's how that happens. But it's like when it explodes, it's just not good. It's
No.
like it's rough. And
When you
then the
can
worst,
feel your body armor and everything, and your uniform becoming looser because you're that bloated, and all of that pressure is coming out of you.
well, and the worst part is when, because I'm sure in this video, if you zoomed in close enough, if you ever recover that, well, his pants got a little bit of debris on it. Let's just put it that way.
Well, here's the thing. I only watched it once. It was that one time.
Oh, I'm sure.
Remember, I do remember has it on replay.
Yep.
I do remember it was running down the side of the vehicle. I remember that. It was because he was on top of it. He wasn't on the turret. He was like next to the turret, like bending over, and it was like a waterfall.
Was he like screaming to us? He like, ah! Like
I couldn't see. No, I couldn't see his face. He was like crouched down and kind of like that. But
the real question is, did you ever see any toilet paper?
What's that?
Did you ever see any toilet paper or any wiping material?
No, I don't remember seeing any of that.
Ooh, because there's not a lot of that. They normally don't keep that in those kinds of vehicles. So
I don't remember seeing any white cylinder around. So no, I don't.
Dude, if I would have been a mechanized piece of shit, you know, as infantry, if I went to been light and I would have been mechanized, you're goddamn right. There would have been shit tickets everywhere.
Everywhere.
We could have put them. Like
I'm so paranoid about it now. I literally keep them in my car. I have a roll of toilet paper in my car just so I have it.
Right.
Because you can only wipe with a fucking stick for so long before, you know.
Right, and it's like let's just stop, you know, making fun of Michael's sexual proclivities as it relates to scat porn and like the one that he filmed. And it's
I am German.
Let's just.
Oh God.
I'm trying to help you here. You're working against me.
Just keep digging that hole, Mike. Just keep digging that hole.
Yeah,
I appreciate you, Mike. Go ahead. Sorry.
What the fuck are you doing? Jesus Christ. I was going to end this stream on a high note, and you're sitting there going, well, I'm German, you know, I kind of like the shit in the mouth kind of thing. Like, I may have jerked off to it a couple times.
People are allowed to have their kinks. I know your kink is kink shaming, but like, just let their people have their things, you know?
I love to shame in general. Like,
that's fair. That's fair.
I appreciate it.
All right. Well, everybody, we've been going for 2 fucking hours now. I'm going to go make fucking good meatballs, spaghetti, and good red sauce from my garden last year. Beautiful. And then probably go into a fucking diabetic coma for a couple hours. And then.
There. What's other Mike going to do?
I got an evening planned with a certain young lady, so I'm going to go see her tonight.
Congratulations!
And then he's going to bang her brother.
Spider-Man sheets on your bed?
No, he's going to bang her brother. Like, let's be honest. Like,
you know.
And that's fine. That's
near
fine.
the brother.
Like, but he's what he's doing. He's playing the long game.
Okay.
He's doing like, you know, hey, I'm gonna fake that I'm going out with you. And then your brother's hot, and I knew that from the beginning. But like, I'm gonna get close to you, and then you're gonna introduce me to him, and then I'm gonna, you know.
Yeah, and then I'm just gonna walk in on him while he's in the shower one morning, you know. And
I'm gonna pop the hammer into his mouth, and we'll go from there. Like, you know. I mean, that's really like that's what's gonna go on.
Fair.
Yeah,
Fair.
You know.
That's Mike's Friday night, but that's fine. Nobody's judging. I'm just saying. You know,
it's 2021.
You do whatever you do.
No, we're good. It's all good, but it's still very impressive the long game you're playing. But hey,
that's right. Well, I'm gonna put my Daisy Dukes on, get drunk, and eat chicken fingers. So,
oh, good job.
The good kind, $8.
Yeah, the good kind, the real good kind. Yeah,
$8.
$8.
Holy fuck!
I could heat them up in a shitty broken microwave oven too. So.
Well, let's listen to some blues music and get drunk and eat chicken fingers. Fuck community college.
Oh gosh.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching, everybody. Even though most of you are gonna be watching this post exposo facto, or the fucking legal term is called.
Some serious shoot shitting.
Yeah, and for
it was fine until we got into the.
who made it this far, you guys need a life.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, what the fuck? What are you doing? It's a Friday afternoon in most of the U.S.
Hey, you
What
know,
are you
good
doing?
news though. Good news though. When it comes to Reveille, I got a check today for $800. So thank you to Julie Erickson for sending that.
don't use real names on the internet.
Oh, sorry.
You just use the first name basis.
That is a pretty fucking common.
That is
name.
yeah, but like that's a rule. You don't do something like hold a checkup on screen because it has routing numbers and stuff on it. And
Dude,
then
my
you don't
webcam
say
isn't gonna pick that up.
because then
No,
people
it
steal their
did. It
identity
was-
and drain their
Devin,
account.
Devin, it was so blurry, and like Julie Erickson, like I could probably look up in the white pages, like just around where I'm at up here in the upper Midwest, in a 50-mile radius, there'd be like 10,000 Julie Ericksons. Like,
Yeah, but
Yeah,
with
like
that bank and that address and that routing number.
my webcam's so shitty, it's not gonna pick up those numbers.
Okay, fair,
it didn't.
fair.
It did. Like I saw it, and I was like, I couldn't even make out like that it was a check. I was like,
Yeah. Just wanted to
There's
thank
gonna be-
someone for supporting the film.
You're probably safe, but just for future reference, you know.
yeah, but
Okay.
yeah, for future reference. But like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's there's gonna probably be somebody that like digitally enhances it because they've got nothing going on. They're like 10 times the size of me, just sitting there like, give me another goddamn pizza, you fucking cunt. I'm sorry, Chauncey. I'll give you another pizza. And digitally enhance it, I'd be like, I'm draining this bitch's bank account. Like that's probably what's gonna happen. And then Mike's gonna have to be like, well, I might have fucked up.
Yeah.
a bit.
Fair.
As
I
long
had
as
to
I
close stream because Kong showed his fucking FFL on my stream before. It's like, really?
Yeah, don't.
Yeah.
Well, what are you gonna do with that? Like, really?
Fair.
whatever happens to her though, at least I got the money, so that's what I care about.
That's fair. Yes.
Fucking gangster shit right there.
Right. Julie,
All right.
If I can be
Julie, if
honest.
you're watching, I apologize in advance. I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna just end this the fuck now.
That's okay. Nobody's gonna watch this long anyways, except for like 2 people. So
Well, there's Chauncey's gonna be watching. You know this.
Chauncey's gonna be watching.
Yep. So, all right, guys. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll fucking see you on the maybe Wednesday that I keep promising that never happens, but probably not actually because my shit's coming on Monday or Tuesday. So
That's a lot of work. Yeah.
yep. So probably we'll see you next Friday on the live stream. Fuckity
Alrighty.
bye.
Oh,
And he's already gone like that. He didn't even want to say anything, and we're still live. It says.
still live.